Out Against Mental Illness.
Hello everybody, just a quick note before we get into this episode proper. I only got most of the way through recording this before I realised that I really should have had some content warnings on it. Things get pretty dark and I get perhaps a little bit emotional. Some of the themes covered in here we're ranging on all sorts of mental health issues, panic attacks, depression, suicide, autistic meltdown, shutdown, you name it, right? It's all there. So if that's going to bother you, a particularly raw and personal depiction of that, then please shuffle on, or go back and listen to the previous episode, or go and listen to something cheerful, or don't listen to anything at all. Go and listen to the birds cheep outside your window. I'll see you all again soon, folks. Good luck with this one. Bye.
Out Against Mental Illness.
Hi everyone. I'm back again for another short story. Well, I'm not sure if this one's going to be particularly short, if I'm honest. And I'm not sure the last one was either. I guess it depends on what your conception of a short story is. And is this one a story? Well, it is. It's partly my story, and it's told through my words, but in something more resembling poetry. So it's worth me rewinding a bit to explain what it is I'm just about to recite to y'all. So I started this podcast in 2024, so last year, just over a year ago, around May, and it was in the midst of one of the most profound mental health crises I've ever had, and I've had a few, and I'm not going to go into yet again into what precipitated that and why I found myself in such a position. If you go listen to various bits of this podcast from the past you'll get all of that sorry story, but lots of positive things came out of that rather unpleasant episode, one of which I have a podcast. The other one is I wrote a little book. It's called The Fall. It really is a very short book of paintings that I have made and words that I have matched with them, that all sort of tumbled out, I guess, probably this time last year. Let me have a look. Have I got a date in this? Was I that forward thinking? It just says copyright 2024 by Alex Lovelace. That's me, people. So probably this time last year. And it really started off as me feeling like I needed some sort of catalogue of my work to put on my website, so that people had something to download, and that maybe I could print out and have at exhibitions and stuff. And it was somewhat ill-conceived. In retrospect, that wasn't a particularly great idea, and I think that the general consensus is that taking along leaflets and cards and brochures to exhibitions is actually counterproductive, but that's for another day. So I started trying to I took some pieces and I started trying to think about what words I would put with them, and ended up it ended up as an outpouring of emotion, of the frustration and the anger and the sadness and the general emotional turmoil I was feeling at the time. And every time I picked out another piece, it resonated with me in a slightly different way. And I ended up just dumping these words down without really thinking about it. And sort of going with the flow, as I tend to do. And, about 6 paintings through this process, I looked back and I went, well, firstly, this isn't a brochure. Secondly, these almost look like poems, and thirdly, it had taken on the shape of a narrative that both represented the state of mind I was in when I made those paintings, because they were paintings scattered from throughout my more recent years as an artist, but also my current predicament and the current arc of my life. I felt like I was recounting it. It became very autobiographical. So as you're going to hear, I sort of take on characters as in the characters in my paintings for each piece. I bounce between the genders and the voices and so on. They could be taken as standalone pairings, and indeed you can take either the painting or the words as standalone as well. And or they read reasonably well as a narrative, if not a slightly abstract, disjointed one. But all of the sort of characters in here, all of the sort of the main protagonists that turn up are all just avatars of me, and various other people in my life make appearances, if in a very abstract sense, and they represent them. And when I had that realization that this was really somewhat of a narrative, the final sort of pieces all fell together, and I selected the artworks that seemed like they would complete that, and tried to sculpt the third act, if you will, and to sort of round it off so it felt like it finished rather than just hung. And I sort of put it away for a bit, thinking, wow, that was a bit indulgent, and then took it out again and reread, and I thought, actually, this is quite affecting. I'm not a person for words in that sense. I'm quite articulate, and I can express myself, but I'm not a poet. I'm not particularly poetic. I'm not amazing with metaphors. I didn't even know if these were poems, and so the original intro to this book proclaims very specifically that they're not. But since I unleashed it upon the world, several people who know and love their poetry have said that they are definitely poems, and several people have said they're good. I don't see how that's possible, since I've written about 10 poems in my whole life. I don't read much poetry because I'm dyslexic and I find it really hard to parse them. So the idea that I could just rock up and write some poetry and it be decent seems nonsensical to me. But I'll take the credit. I'll take the praise, because whether they're great, Keatsian, Yeatsian poems, Wordsworth and so on, or not, I doubt they are. But if they affected anyone, if they resonated with anyone, then I don't really care whether they were good or not. And they seem to resonate with lots of people, and to some people very, very profoundly. And people, after reading these, would come up to me and say, I think I understand you much better now, and I understand myself, because I've been through similar experiences, and you help me make sense of those. And that's very touching and very amazing, which is part of the reason I'm sharing these here. I did release it. I have self-printed, vanity published hard copies, but not many. And it has a cover, and it has inner sleeve notes. I don't know what you call these things. I'm not in publishing, but it's got all the paintings in it, and it's got all the words in it, and it says copyright Alex, and it says first published in 2004. It makes it all look a little bit like a proper book, but it's just me saying some stuff. I haven't sold many. It's been distributed reasonably widely on in PDF form. I will include a link to the PDF in the show notes if you want to go and look at that. I'm not the next Stephen King or anything, right? This has not been seen by millions of people, and it probably never will be. But I wanted to share this because I think, especially with some of the things I'm saying on this podcast, little projects like this that come out of nowhere are so vital and important to the process, and things that you just do because you feel that you need to do them often turn out to be some of the best things you've ever done. And if you asked me to recreate this, you said, here's another portion of your life, can you do the same thing? I'm not sure I'd be able to. This was very stream of consciousness, and I don't really want to try. I'm not ruling out ever doing poetry again, but I think if I did this again, I'd be so self-conscious. It would either not get done, or it would turn out to be actual drivel or doggerel, as poet enthusiasts like to call it. So I'm very, and given that I don't really know how I managed it in the first place, I'm very hesitant to do that. I have actually read these aloud before, some of them anyway, an open mic night locally, and they went down pretty well. And so I'm going to read them to you. I'll intro each one individually with a quick description of the painting, so you can make a bit more sense of it. But other than that, I'm just gonna plough in and get on with it. I don't think this is an enjoyable journey by any stretch, but hopefully you might find it a cathartic journey, or you might take something away from it that makes you feel a bit better about yourself, or maybe there's some turns of phrase in here that resonate with you, whatever. But this is a piece of me, probably about as raw as it gets. So I hope it doesn't terrify you, and I'll see you soon for hopefully the next episode, the next part of my Momentum series. Right, here I go. I'm reading this from the book itself, so you can hear the pages and stuff. I'll quickly read the introduction. It kind of repeats what I've said, but I might as well be thorough here. Right, introduction. This is a collection of pictures of my artworks with some words to accompany them. The artworks weren't made to be accompanied by words, but since I have little or no mind's eye, I think about these pictures in terms of words and emotions, so I've tried to write both down. Although each is a story in its own right, there's a narrative of sorts, perhaps a journey, that runs through them. This may only be visible to me though. It's not a happy journey, but it is a real one. Many of the humans depicted in these artworks are avatars of me, regardless of the gender, and regardless that most of them depict real humans that have existed and in some cases continue to exist. The pictures and words herein are pieces of me. They are raw, intimate, confessional, angry, despondent, joyous, confused, desperate, and probably a bunch of other things. They are messages to myself from past iterations of me. They are sacrifices at the altar of my mental illness. They are yours now. Interpret them how you wish. Oh, here we go. Alex Lovelace, April 24. Wow, I did this in April. Oh, I did this before I even started the podcast. Wow, there you go. The first painting. This is David. So this is probably my single most personal prized paintings that I'll unlikely ever sell. It's one of the earliest I did of my recent reprisal as an artist, and it depicts Boris Karloff as Frankenstein, who's a consistent avatar of me in my paintings, and indeed it was also the avatar for the earlier episodes of this podcast. Different painting. He's depicted in sort of impasto, day glow, fluorescent oranges and pinks and blues, over a collage of bits torn out of magazines and stuff and newspapers, and you can just sort of see words poking through saying where to begin, label, nerves, broken. I'm broken. And lots of smaller things that I can't read on here, but it's quite a big piece. So if you ever see it, you can go up close and read them. It's called David because it's my dad's middle name, and it's also my eldest son's middle name. And it speaks to a sort of a line, a continuum of the males in my family who depict very similar presentations of autism and ADHD. And I sort of felt like I was creating a connection there, and this painting's very much about ADHD because it was painted soon after my initial ADHD diagnosis, and it just sort of flowed out like the rest of the words in this, and it was a bit of one of my earliest realizations of art as therapy. So here we go. David. A jagged line scratched through flaking plaster traces a route through generations, father, son, brother, sister, children, of minds at war with themselves. A 43-year-old man is scared and confused. Prescriptions, pills. He stands in front of a canvas. An image emerges depicting a human created from bits of other humans. His journey begins. Right, the next one is called The Others. Says this was painted in 2022. It depicts, this is from a picture of Carol Lombard, who is a 1920s, 1930s silent movie actress, probably among the most photogenic humans who ever lived. And she's looking pensive, and she's got her hand sort of on her chest, just under her chin. She's depicted in somewhat Art Nouveau, Art Deco style with very pronounced lines, a little bit Alphonse Mucha, and in sort of mainly in blues and greens and a bit of cyan, and a lot of cyan actually. And all behind her, she's got these like a cluster of archetypal alien faces. Of the type, the close encounters type. Some of them look like emojis, some of them look a bit cute, some of them look quite disturbing, and it very much is an expression of my feeling of being an autistic person in a neurodivergent world, and all of these almost alien beings, the neurotypical people, peering in at me and looking at me like I'm some sort of, and I'm an alien to them. So here we go. The Others. They say that the eyes are windows through which they must peer to see what lies beneath. They say that you must sit still to show that you are present and attentive, that you must not talk about yourself, what you love, only what interests others. You must be more like them, but not too much. They say they are looking, seeing, curious, but they only want a mirror. Who is trapped inside that mirror? Who have you encaged to make you master, and what have they lost to give you peace? Okay, the next one's called Somebody. This depicts, is from a picture of a photo of Mia Farrow from Rosemary's Baby, which is quite a haunting film in its own right, and a book, but I've never read the book. It's depicted in complementary sort of purples and mauves and yellows and oranges, and she's sort of sitting there looking nervous, clutching her bag, very sort of stark, bright highlights on her face and hair, and she's depicted quite almost a little bit expressionistically, but still realistic. And behind her, there's lots of cuttings of people from magazines that are smiling, just smiley faces, mostly women. And I don't know about anyone else, but to me, I can see those smiles are fake. That they're only doing them for the camera, and it's always felt a little bit to me like when someone smiles for the camera like that they're fake, they're lying, and that it bothers me that no one else seems to be able to perceive that these people are lying. When you see me smile, it's almost always because I'm feeling good or happy or comfortable. I can't really smile on demand. It doesn't look good, and I feel weird, and it feels ingenuine. So this one's called Somebody. Those smiles are not real. Their glances, words, mannerisms cast effortlessly chip away little pieces of her that are invisible to them. They add to 1,000 stinging cuts, invisible cuts. Pain is invisible too, she thinks, but if they could see the wounds, they would have sympathy, assume the pain, pay attention, offer help. But they don't see her snicked skin or the ruthlessly tender swells of prior damage only part healed. They only see her as aloof and broadcast their disdain, or worse, indifference. Somebody just trying to protect herself from further damage. Right, this next one's called Dissociation. It's a long, tall piece that depicts a scene from Dracula's Daughter, which is a 1930s horror film. It just depicts a lady looking a little bit terrified, certainly very worried, with her hand up to her face. It's all in blues, blacks with some oranges and stark contrast and thick lines. And there's lots of scribbles of writing behind it and a few bits of comic strips and stuff. And I don't have this painting to hand. I can't read the writing, but if memory serves, it was just random outpourings. And my writing's largely illegible anyway, certainly is to me. This is about just being out there in public and effectively, you know, that feeling you get before a panic attack hits you. That feeling that something's not right. And that the world starts to waver and starts to feel like an alien, weird and scary place, and you have no idea why. So here we go. Dissociation. The world quavers, like a record skipping or a stream briefly buffering. It's not dizziness, the disturbance is with the world. Reality twitched, she merely observed. But why? Again, a twitch, longer this time. She checks her environment. Humans, lots of them, coming and going, surging back and forth like waves on a beach. This, then, is the cause of the twitch. The world is too much. Her mind tries to detach itself, again. She looks for a bench, somewhere to rest and a respite. Twitch. Twitch. Right, this next one is a self-portrait of sorts. It's called Signal Equals Noise. It's a picture of me. I appear to be wearing no clothes, but I'm assuming I've got at least pants on under there. I'm sort of curled up almost in a ball, like sitting cross-legged and with my head down, so you can't see my face. So it could be anyone, but I don't tend to have models, so it's definitely going to be me. And it's got no hair. And there's sort of circles and geometry around him, but behind it is a whole bunch of Twitter feeds, and it was Twitter, not X. And I can see Boris Johnson in there, and a Guardian article, and various other things. And I think these were actually taken from my Twitter feed, very much as an expression of how this particular type of window into the world was making me feel, and that I found myself constantly worried and distressed, when really most of the stuff that was coming in was just mindless noise, and the algorithm was just trying to bait me into having an emotional reaction, so I would stay on their platform. But it precipitated me falling into a particularly bad state. Although I was smart enough to turn off my social feeds when things started to get really bad last year. This sort of depicts the early parts of that realization. So here we go. Signal equals noise. He curls in on himself, folding and folding because there is nowhere else to retreat. The pressure comes from everywhere at once, from every direction, from outside and from within. He must find new directions in which to retreat, new dimensions, crevices made from unworldly angles, splitting and dividing into countless quantum morsels. An infinity of a human mind, now an origami of infinite focus, a point of perfect distress, impossible to observe, but boundless in its gravity. I loved being able to introduce some of the concepts of physics and quantum physics and geometry and maths into my both my writing and my painting. It amuses me. Right, this next one's called Meltdown. The painting is adapted from a photo from, I think it's Evil Dead, but it might be Evil Dead 2. This is Bruce Campbell playing the legendary Ash, the protagonist in all the first wave of Evil Dead films. They've since been reimagined or rebooted with, I believe, a female protagonist, but I've not seen them. This one was actually called Meltdown number 2. There's 4 Meltdown paintings. This one shows Ash sort of looking up to the sky with a contorted face in one of his various on-screen meltdowns, because he's being pursued constantly by very odd undead beings, saying things like, "I swallow your soul, I swallow your soul." They're quite brilliant films, but they're not for the faint-hearted. They are way better than they sound on paper. I recommend them for anyone who likes a bit of horror. This one and all of those paintings were very, very specifically about the feeling and the act of having a meltdown, which is not, as people think it is, a tantrum. It's a total loss of control. It's a reaction to loss of control and autonomy, a complete loss of spoons, a total loss of self-control due to overstimulation or an environment that is we're no longer capable of dealing with. And they can manifest in lots of different ways with lots of people. Some people just go very quiet and non-verbal. I'll do that after basically exploding with substances and noise, and it's really, really unpleasant, and it's even worse for the people around me. I don't get violent, but I do get very distressed. So this one's called Meltdown. The storm was brewing for days, weeks perhaps, but he didn't notice. He didn't see the anvil, its menacing shadow on the horizon. He wasn't looking up, only down, pushing forward through the brambles and the mud, only knowing only that he must keep going. When the storm came, it caught him off guard. It came from within and forced an eternity of too much out of every pore and orifice, snotty and acidic. Those around him had no time to take cover. When finally it was over, he knew it would not be the last. He now saw all the anvils, rough beasts slouching towards him. I was having perhaps several meltdowns a day at that point, and panic attacks as well, sometimes at the same time. That final line is a reference to or homage to Yeats's W.B. Yeats's Second Coming, which is arguably my favourite poem of all time. I don't have lots of favourite poems, but it would be the top of my little pile, even though it is incredibly dark. Okay, the next one is called The Fall, which is what the book is called. This one depicts, well, this is actually from a picture of Janet Leigh, and that is, I think that's Robert Newman, right? I don't remember what film it's from. She's depicted in sort of very Art Deco style. He's predicted almost blending into the background. She's sort of much more prominent and almost sort of glowing, and they're on a background of sort of yellows, and the whole thing is mostly yellows and ochres and a bit of brown and black, and some oranges, and I made the base of the canvas by taking bits and pieces of leaves and stuff from around my garden and putting them on the canvas and then spraying them, and so it really sort of evokes an autumn feel of leaves on the ground. Hence the fall. But the fall is both metaphorical and actual, and sort of pretty much depicts the most unpleasant section of this, and it's also a bit of a love letter, a thank you letter to my wife, who had to deal with all of this just as much as I did. Here we go, the fall. She cradles him, hoping, pleading that he doesn't fall again. It's like cradling, comforting a grenade, she thinks. Let me not slip the pin, please. There will be buds again, regrowth. She knows this. There must be. For now, withered and spent pieces of him fall slowly to the earth for the wind to toss around. She would sweep them away, but so many drift down she worries that they'll be buried by them. This is really dark, isn't it? I'm sorry, people. Feel free to skip on to the next episode. Right, this one's called Shutdown. This one has the other painting avatar of Boris Karloff's Frankenstein, the one that was used for the original cover of this podcast. It shows him with his hands holding up to his face, looking very distressed, in just blues and the odd bit of indigo and mauve, lit from underneath with the words "shutdown" and slightly less visible, the words "please, please, please" around the outside and "help" written on the bottom. Shutdown is another issue, particularly predominant with neurodivergent people, where things have got so bad we retreat inwards and become less responsive and less capable of functioning as a human. It may look like we're calmer, but it's really not. It's really not a nice place to be. So here we go. Shutdown. It came after the storms, so many storms, electric and acrid, insinuating all his cells, infecting and corrupting his spirit. They, the others, had asked too much. Obedience and conformity, to be like them, day in, day out, like a performing squirrel. When it came, it was not a relief, was not a respite, it was more of the same, but now coming from within him. He shuts himself down, he shuts them out, the war continues. And it did. Don't worry, folks, we're nearly over. Right, the next one. This one's sad as well. They're all sad. This one's called Black Dog. This is a painting of our now sadly departed dog, Ollie. He was a huge ex-racing greyhound who was lovely but worshipped me and wouldn't leave me alone. And I had a slightly bittersweet relationship with him because I can't be around another being all the time, especially if that being is tuned as well into my state of mind as Ollie always was, because I'm hyper empathic, and so I get into empathy feedback loops, and at this point in my life that was not helpful. And I do miss him. He was amazing. But I've got a picture of him here. It's all black and white with some brownish tones in it. It depicts him lying down on the floor, looking up with his doleful eyes. He was probably quite happy at that point, but he looked sad. It's over lots of cuttings of pictures from men's magazines and also from medication, and you can see words like brave, enjoy every minute, failure, act, reality, envy, win. And over the top of it, along the edge, it says, I have no reason to be unhappy. And this is really about male mental health, both my mental health and the wider subject of men mental health, having to live up to unrealistic social expectations and the constant and unrelenting problem of male depression and male suicide that seems to other people to come out of nowhere, but comes from and it's not just men, but this is about men. It comes from trying to seem or be strong and not feeling able to express it and not feeling allowed to express that, and it just builds up. And the black dog is a metaphor for depression. So here we go, black dog. I ain't got time to bleed, he thinks, hoping, pleading that his fortitude and resilience will be enough, but knowing he only delays the inevitable. My resilience got me here, he tells her, buried this deep. I needed to make the time to bleed. But where was that time? When did the earth stop spinning? When did everyone pause all at once and give me a little space to suffer in peace, to heal? But there must be progress, momentum, important things, more important than me. Who has time to bleed, to risk being left behind or washed away? We bleed regardless. The black dog waits patiently. This is the last one. I hope this one feels a little bit more positive. It does for me, but other people felt like I ended on quite a bleak note. I guess it's all how you frame it. The picture this is actually a picture of movie star. I had to look that up. It's Gary Cooper. I should remember that. He's the Gary Cooper that isn't the British boxer. So I think Gary Cooper was gay. Don't know. Need to double check that. This is just him looking downwards and to my left, looking sort of forlorn and sad. And there's lots of different colours, mainly sort of oranges and yellows and reds, but with some blues splattered over the canvas that drip down sort of behind his face, and just dribbles and drips. And it took me almost no time to do this, and I really quite like it. It's just it's another depiction of male sadness, but maybe he looks a bit more resilient there, a little bit more determined. It's called Ordinary. Here we go. An ordinary day, that is enough. Nothing good, nothing bad, nothing special. An ordinary moment, a moment of peace is all it will take. An unexceptional instant, a gift, a blessing. I'll take it. I'll take that moment and multiply it by 10, 10,000, 10 infinities. It's still just a moment, still ordinary, but more so. Like every other ordinary moment, and all the others too. And there we go. So that one there has a very strong waft of Zen. There is only one moment, and it is this one. And when that moment is painful, it can be hard to accept that fact. But when these bad moments can yield beautiful things, and when you can survive and come out the other side and take something away from it, every moment was worth it, and every moment is worth hanging around for. So just keep hanging on, people, and keep using creativity to improve your life. If you're in a dark place like I was then, I hope you've got someone around for you, people who can support you. I was so lucky and so blessed to be surrounded by so many amazing people. Thank you all. I love you all. But not everyone is so fortunate, and And it's worth noting that, this can happen to someone like me who's considered quite sort of resilient, despite the fact that I've got a strong support network. Life happens, and our brains don't always play ball. If you're suffering in silence, don't. It's not worth it. Go find someone to talk to. Go talk to someone you can trust, or go try and find some professional service who can help you. There's lots of things out there. I don't think I'm a particularly good source for this. Go and find support, and just remember that every moment matters. Every moment you're alive matters to someone. Every moment you're alive is a moment to cherish, and a moment that you can, bring some light into someone else's life. And also remember that people exist to help other people. We're not a society. We're not just a network of individuals. We're a society. We have communities. People want to help people who are struggling. They get a lot out of it. Don't be afraid to ask. People care about you. People want to help you, and there's lots and lots of places to support people who are truly incredible out there that are ready and willing to help you. So don't suffer in silence, and I promise you'll come out the other end, and things will look so much better, like they have for me. But that's enough of that for now. What I need to do is go back to the beginning of this and record a content warning, because I forgot just how bleak that was. Right, I'm going to go and hide in my studio for a bit and try and remember actually my life right now is pretty damn good. So see you all again soon, and stay chill, folks. Stay happy. Bye.
Nobody gives me sympathy. That's the reason why I cry for peace. It's all the load I can see 1,000 miles away.
Art Against Mental Illness.